Hello everyone, this is Amy Francis, Director of Financial Aid at Defiance College. Today we're going to talk about the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. This is the landing page that shows where you start completing the FAFSA. As you can see, the 25-26 FAFSA is coming soon, so you cannot start completing this application until sometime in December. If you're coming in as a new freshman for 2025, make sure you're filling out the 2025-26 FAFSA. The 24-25 is available right now, but you are going to need the 2025-26 coming in December. The free application for federal student aid is an application that collects a family's personal and financial information to perform a need analysis calculation to determine financial aid eligibility. The FAFSA uses prior year income, so 2023 income will be the income on the FAFSA for 25-26. The electronic version of the FAFSA is recommended for the fastest processing. There is a paper version, but it takes a lot slower time to process. So if you're able to do the electronic version, that is just going to be to your benefit. The Future Act last year came out, and they shortened the questions on the FAFSA, and they also allowed a direct data exchange from the IRS. So it allows you to give consent or permission to pull all your 2023 federal tax information on the FAFSA so that it is very accurate. You have to have consent or permission to be able to pull all that data onto the FAFSA for you, so you don't have to manually put that in most cases. To start the process for the FAFSA, everyone needs a federal student aid username and password called the FSA ID. And you are going to use this username and password for many different things on the FAFSA, not only on the FAFSA, but when you're doing loan repayment, you may have to use this ID to go in and complete a PLUS loan, to do your promissory notes and your loan counseling. So basically what this is, it's your legal signature that you use to sign everything electronically and to log into portals with the U.S. Department of Education. Each person completing a section on the FAFSA will need their own username and password because that is their legal signature. To get it, you have to have your social security number, your full name, your date of birth, and your own email or mobile phone number. So parents, if you're completing the FAFSA, you need one. Your student needs one. Student, if you have a spouse, your spouse will need one. So you can start doing that right now. Even though you can't complete your FAFSA until December, you can go ahead right now and get your FSA ID ready to use. This is the portal that shows you where to go in to complete it. Each owner creates their own FSA ID. You will have several questions that you will need to answer so that if you ever need to recover your username and password, you will answer those questions appropriately. Students, don't use your high school email because usually after graduation they delete those accounts or enable those accounts. So you will need to have your own personal email account in order to be able to complete this process. Usually the processing time takes 1 to 3 days after creating an account before you're able to use it. That's why it's important to get this done before you start doing your FAFSA. That way you won't have to wait and have any delays. You'll have it all ready and ready to go. And you'll be able to use this FSA ID each year. So once you create it, you will use it every year to complete your FAFSA. This is what the login page is. So once you get your FSA ID, you will go to the FAFSA login page when December comes, and you will put in your username and your password. Student and parents, when you go into your section of the FAFSA, they will have onboarding educational FAFSA videos. There's 4 of them, and they're short videos that kind of assist you with the process and help you through the form. I would suggest the first time that you go to do the FAFSA that you look at these onboarding short videos to help you through it. So student, once you log in, you're going to see a page that looks like this, and you're going to say, I'm starting the FAFSA form, and you're going to click Student. You're going to have information like your identity, like your address, your phone number, your date of birth. You're going to, even if you haven't filed a tax return from 2023, they're going to ask you to give consent to transfer any data over. So that will transfer that you maybe haven't filed a tax return, or if you did file a tax return, it will transfer all the information from the IRS onto the FAFSA. It will ask your marital status, your college plans, where you want to go to college, and if you have any personal or unusual circumstances. When you go in, students, to this section, it's going to go through a dependency status question. And in this section, it's going to determine whether you have to put your parent information down or if you're going to file as an independent student. There is a question on there that it says, apply for a direct unsubsidized loan only. It is recommended that you say no to that question and you go through the entire application so that you can make sure that you're getting all the financial aid that you're eligible for. These are the FAFSA dependency questions. We're not going to read all the way through them, but if a student answers yes to one of these questions, they are considered independent for FAFSA purposes. So example, the student has to be born before January 1st of 2021. So you have to be 24 years old. Is the student married? Are they a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces? Do they have children that they support and will continue that support at any time since the student turned 13? Were they an orphan, ward of the court, in foster care, that kind of thing. So if a student answers yes to one of these questions, they're independent. If they answer no to all these questions, then they are required to put parental information on the application. Sometimes there's an unusual circumstance that the student may answer no to all those questions, but they are not living with a parent and they might have an unusual situation. So there is a question on there that says, okay, you're supposed to be a dependent student, but there's an unusual situation. And if the student marks that, they will become a provisionally independent student and they will only fill out information about them. But then the school's going to reach out to you, student, and say, tell me more about your situation and why you aren't living with a parent and why you didn't answer yes to one of those other questions to make you independent. So this gives us an opportunity to find those unusual situations that a family may have and to address them appropriately according to the federal policies. FAFSA contributors, what are they? FAFSA contributors are basically anyone who is required to provide information on the FAFSA form. For example, the student, and if the student's married, it would be their spouse, a biological or adoptive parent, or the parent's spouse. The student or parent filling out the FAFSA will invite their contributors to complete their section of the FAFSA. And so when they put in the section that they're inviting a contributor, they will need the name, the date of birth, a social security number, and the email of the contributor in order to continue on with the FAFSA. And then all contributors will need their own username and password in order to go on and do their section of the FAFSA. I have a lot of questions that ask many times, who is the parent that you need to put on the FAFSA? This chart is from the U.S. Department of Education, and it helps people understand who is the parent that should be putting information on the FAFSA. So you can review this and determine who is supposed to go on the FAFSA. Then the student invites the parent onto their FAFSA, and then what happens next is they will send an invitation to the parent to go in, use their username and password to complete their section. Student, you will also have to put in your citizenship, whether you completed a high school, whether you are completing high school, which you will be as soon as you graduate. Minimal questions about tax return, maybe some asset information, your total cash and savings and checking accounts, and then you'll hit continue and continue on. The student section also has a place where you can put all the colleges that you want on the FAFSA. There's up to 20 that you can report on there. And then it will give you an opportunity to review the information. You will do a signature box and checking it, saying you've done it to the best of your ability and your knowledge. And then at that point, they will send your contributors an email saying, okay, it's time for you to log in and to complete your section of the FAFSA. So the email invitation will be sent. Please look at your junk mail. Sometimes it goes there, but it's going to be from the U.S. Department of Education. And then parent, you will go in and click the link that they provide you, and then you will complete your section by logging in with your FSA ID to access the FAFSA, and you'll go through your questions of the application. If a parent is filing joint from 2023, only one parent is required to complete the parent section. If parents, you filed separate tax returns in 2023, then each parent will go in and complete their section of the FAFSA. Again, you're giving consent from the IRS or permission to pull this information onto the application, and that's why you're doing this separately, because only you should be able to get permission to provide that information on the FAFSA, because it's your information. Parent, you'll have same kind of thing: identity, contact information, the consent to transfer the IRS information, your marital status, your state of legal residence, the family size, number in college, your tax information, like what kind of return did you file, and some asset information as well will be put on that application. Then you'll review it, you'll sign and hit the signature, and then you will submit it. And then the U.S. Department of Education will process the results, and they will send information to the student to say, hey, your results are done, and they're processed, and you can go in and review them and look at them. And then it will send the FAFSA results to all the schools that are listed on your FAFSA application, because you're the one that has control on who gets this information. Now let's say you made an error on your application. That's common, it happens. You must wait 1 to 2 days before you can go back in and make a correction. So then you would just go back to the FAFSA portal. It'll ask you if you want to do a new application or make a correction, and that's when you'll be able to make a correction if you know that you've accidentally put something in there and you know it was wrong. Special circumstances are unique conditions that do not get calculated on the FAFSA. For example, maybe a parent had a change in employment status from 2023 and it's 24-25, and maybe you've lost your job, or maybe you have a reduction of income. Maybe you had paid medical expenses not covered by insurance that affected your ability to pay for college. All kinds of things, a natural disaster, and you didn't have insurance to cover. Maybe a tornado came and took the roof off of your home, and you didn't have insurance to cover that, and you had to pay for that out of your own pocket. So these are unique conditions that happen, and so they're not reported anywhere on the FAFSA. So what you need to do is send a written explanation to the financial aid offices that you're going to be applying toward and being accepted to, and provide supporting documentation. And sometimes the schools will go back and forth with you of what type of documentation they will need. Sometimes they have a form you have to go on their website and pull down. And then the school will review this, and if applicable, will make any adjustments to see if there's any additional financial aid that you might be eligible for. The decisions are final. Each school makes their own decision based on their own policies, and you cannot appeal these decisions with the U.S. Department of Education. The verification process, the U.S. Department of Education requires us from time to time to do a quality control check to make sure you're completing the application correctly. And so sometimes we have to ask for you to verify your identity. Sometimes we have to ask you to re-verify your household size or certain types of untaxed income, maybe asset information, things like that. So if you are selected for the verification process, just get to it right away to make sure that you're getting the most accurate financial aid package available to you, and make sure everything is okay. It doesn't necessarily mean you've done anything wrong with the application. It's usually a random selection to make sure families are filling out their application correctly. If you have questions, you can feel free to email general questions to my office. You can email or call the school that you're interested in attending. And you can also call the U.S. Department of Education and talk to them about information. You can call the 800 number and get some information from there. So if you have any other questions, just let us know, and good luck with the financial aid process.